What's up, everybody? Legacy here for the Rift Recap, Episode 2. As you see on the screen, I got another legend in the building. Well, he's not in my building, but you know what I mean. It's Michael Udall. Say what's up.
Hey, what is up, everyone? Legacy, thank you so much for having me. So excited to be here. So excited to join you on the podcast.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you as a guest. I appreciate you taking the time out of the day to do this. So recently, we saw you back casting for some of the big major events and stuff in Wild Rift. So just kind of tell us what you've been up to recently.
Yeah, that was awesome. Shout out to the whole WNS team, everyone over at Wisdom Riot for letting me join. Had a lot of fun on the broadcast, hoping to be doing some more casting into the future. But yeah, where have I kind of been? So end of last year, basically North American Regionals, Sentinels, we get 8th place. Literally like an hour after we get 8th place, I sit the whole team down, have like a very heartfelt conversation with them and let them know that I wanted to step down from the team because I was having a lot of pain. And basically like I had surgery earlier that year on my left wrist. I had like an existing thumb injury, and really, moral of the story, the transition from being a professional gamer on PC to mobile was just really difficult. I wasn't actually able to keep up. I wasn't able to play the volume of games that I wanted to be the type of pro that I felt like my teammates deserved, that I wanted to like represent for myself. So that was a really hard decision. I was so sad. Like I loved the team that I played with. Like I really feel like every single one of those guys, our coach Pierce, and not only that, but like Sentinels as an organization was the best work I've ever been a part of, even though it was only for 4 months, right? It was like, I really was so excited to be there and to learn from them. And so I was really depressed, one of the wisest advice my mama Udall's ever given me. It was after someone close to me lost their life. And, she basically said, you only know how much something matters to you or means to you when it's gone.
It's gone.
And I felt like that really hit me as I was walking away from being a professional player. I like had worked my tail off. I was a pro in HOTS from 2015 to 2018. The scene like literally dissolved in like a moment. I found out on Twitter, in the middle of a scrim practice that me and all my friends lost our jobs. And so I'd kind of been working towards being a professional player since then, right? Since 2018, I got like top 200 in Dota 2. I grinded like really hard for a couple of years before moving on, starting my own org. But I had worked so hard to finally become a pro again, and I felt like my hands kind of gave out on me because they did. And so I was really sad, really depressed, ended up actually moving back to Arizona. I was living in Utah at the time, spent basically the holidays, a couple of months with my family, just kind of recharging. And also got to hang out with my nephew, baby Benjamin. He's such a stinking cutie. So I hadn't met him during COVID. But yeah, I basically moved to Arizona. I actually met Legacy for the first time as well. Yep. We met in person. But yeah, I was really depressed, kind of took some time for myself, and ended up moving to Portland in January. And, the last couple months I've been doing a lot better, just kind of needed to mourn the loss of a career before I could move on and do the next one. So yeah, really looking forward to get into casting, getting into Wild Rift more. Would love to join the WNS broadcast. Also have been doing streaming of the C9 in-houses, a lot of the top North American talent, as well as, some of the LATAM, as well as EU people have been joining in. So I've been doing a lot of casting on my stream, looking to get more involved with the Wild Rift community again. But, sometimes you got to take a little bit of time for your mental health.
It's very true. You brought up a lot. So people don't realize the grind that a professional player in any esport has to take. It takes a lot on you. Like we'll put League of Legends out there. The schedule, insane schedule for League of Legends PC pros, and you don't have rarely any time with your friends and family. And the thing that you said there that hit me the most is the time to refresh. And your story is basically an awesome anime arc. So you had the great ups. It's the beginning of your story, the great ups, the highs. And then you were kind of lost for a little bit and you had to refine yourself. And then you stumbled upon a new opportunity with Wild Rift. And as you said, signed to the biggest one. Anyone would love that opportunity. And you still got it. But then your hands failed you. But what did you do? You took time to rest. You didn't give up, and you looked for other avenues to still continue and pursue your passion. And that to me is the characteristics of a very strong person, because a lot of people would have given up after the first time. Now had 2 setbacks. You've reached the top of the peak twice. And now you still came down, and now you're going back up again to show people there's still opportunity out there for you. So I applaud you, man. Like, much respect and credit to you, because those opportunities will come because you earn them. So keep the grind up. And you touched on it. So you did get to cast for some WNS. Yes. Let's talk about that. What is your initial thoughts from Major 2, and what are kind of your biggest takeaways?
Well, I mean, Major 2 was so exciting. That's one of my first takeaways, right? Like, obviously, we had the reverse sweep coming out from INT. Like, as a viewer, as a fan at home, I was balling. I was so happy, right? Like, great Wild Rift games. As the Sentinel stand that I am, you know, as those are my boys, that's my squad that I'm pulling for, without a doubt, unbiased. I was sad to see them lose in the finals. I will remember that, you know, on the tournament, they won 4 games, Immortal won 3. So it's like, in a best of 7, who wins? All I'm going to say is I'll let the math speak for itself. But yeah, it was a great weekend. I felt like we got to watch some hype Wild Rift. I mean, a couple teams that really stood out to me. I mean, Suzaku. Yes. There's someone I watched in the qualifier. Didn't necessarily have the best major performance, but there's someone I'm excited to watch kind of progress. Reflection as well was able to take a game off of Tribe and Immortals. So that was exciting to see for me, of, you know, maybe those bottom 6 to 8 teams having a bit more life and being able to potentially take down some of these top better teams. I felt like C9 really impressed me as well. Meals in the mid lane, special shout out. I was actually sleeping on him in the chat. I had people ask me who I thought the best mid laner was. And, you know, currently I think it's Mally or Hoon. Like, I think those two are cracked, but I think, you know, Meals is definitely making a name for himself there in the mid lane. Had some pop off Akali games. Feel like if C9 maybe gets a bit cleaner in their mid to late game, they definitely could jump and get better. But I mean, we got to talk about the downfall of Tribe, right? Like the Horizon Cup representative from NA.
The big elephant in the room. Let me circle back first. Yes, we got as a fan, we got what we wanted to see. We wanted to see that epic lower bracket run back for the rematch, and not only did we get all 5? We won all 5 games, but it was a reverse sweep, and that is even better. So shout out to both of them. And I'll admit, bro, I had posted on Twitter, and I even put in my other video, like, I have Sentinels winning 3-2, so I had to humble myself when they didn't win, but I still had to give the props to Immortals. Like, right now, they are the top dog. And maybe. We'll see. We'll talk about that.
They are. What do you mean? What do you mean maybe? As the former Sentinels player, they are. Anyone that's not saying, you know, IMT is the top dog, you're just disrespecting what they've done in Major 2, what they've done in Major 1, right? They have won the last couple of large North American Wild Rift tournaments. And do you know how hard it is to reverse sweep someone? Like, very the mental, like, toll that takes, like, being down. You've lost to this team 4 times in a row in this tournament. In the last 24, you've lost to them 4 times, right? And to be able to bring it back, to have the mental fortitude to be able to win, I feel like that is something else. You know, granted, I feel like giving Lebmont Lee Sin is kind of an int. That man is like unbelievable. Like, just flash W and getting kills on all kinds of people. So yeah, I think Sentinels in the upcoming regional has a really good shot. You know, probably the person I would vote on to winning the whole thing. But to act like IMT is not the best team right now in North America is just disrespectful to what they've done the last 2 majors. And that's my opinion.
I agree with you. My only thing is people will use the recency bias plus the overall. And I know there's some people out there that'll be like, but Tribe went on an unmistakable run last year. True, they did. They did go on an unmistakable run, but what are they doing now is the story here. So first major, didn't even they got knocked out early, I believe, right? In the second day. This one, they got knocked out early. And I'm not strong enough to analyze why they are having a downfall. I look at it more like the other teams are catching up. And even Starting kind of said that in his interview I did with him. What are your thoughts? Why are Tribe not even top 3, in my opinion?
I mean, I think first and foremost, it's the other teams are catching up as well, right? Like, Tribe played together as an existing team, an existing synergy all of last year, right? That Sentinels roster, I was playing as their mid laner in the regionals, October of last year. That's 5 months ago. And that was a team that Pierce and I put together from scratch, pretty much from scratch. We were playing with Jackie, who's the ADC for Enemy, former Cloud9. Mm-hmm. We were playing with a completely different bot lane, going into that qualifier that we got top 4. Basically, the day before the qualifier closed, Jackie told me that he's going to C9. We pick up Rest and Beg last minute. Like, that's a very new roster. They haven't even been playing together for 6 months, right? Mm-hmm. As an entirety. And granted, MTS and Rest have some existing synergy from AOV. Playing in a new game, you have different roles. And so I don't know 100% all of the background as far as IMT and how they got together, but I think they're similar in the sense where they've only been playing together 6, maybe 8 months together, and getting that existing team synergy and also getting into a flow of like what role everyone should play is something that takes time. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest downfall of Tribe, is that the other teams have gotten better. Mm-hmm. But also, I mean, we can't help but talk about Old School leaving the team or being removed from the team. I don't, post Horizon Cup. Mm-hmm. I think D'Anzio's a really good ADC, right? I don't necessarily think that they got an ADC downgrade, but I think more of what happened is they lost their team identity when they changed their ADC role, right? Like, I think D'Anzio's a stellar player. You watched him play on NME. I feel like there were a lot of moments where he was really the star on both of these teams. And so I don't feel like it's a downgrade in ADC. I think it's more of the team doesn't know what their win condition is or how they play, right? Because when you play around Old School, I think you generally play through, you dominate the bot lane in the early game. Your jungler comes in, ganks, you dive, and that's kind of like every game, right? You kind of have your style. And I feel like other top teams now know how to play against that. And so Tribe, I think, has been struggling to find a new identity in the way that they play. But I would have to be in comms to fully know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, we could theorize a lot. I mean, like, you're right. You play through bot lane, and at the time, they had all their other individual players were so strong that they could carry themselves after you played through bot lane. And I think now the other mid laners, the other junglers, the top laners are catching up to where it's like you're gonna have to change your strategy now. And you did point out something that I wanted to reference in any kind of video. Is like, how big were the off-season acquisitions and who did it benefit and who did it hurt? And you brought it out perfectly right there. And we can't assume that that's the whole story, but it definitely, just from just looking at it through a lens and a scope, one person left, one person came in, and everything's different. Now, I'm not going to say that that's the whole reason. You're right. D'Anzo, stellar player, a phenomenal player. But I do think you're accurate in saying that they're trying to identify what their identity is as a team. What are our win conditions? And adding a new person in, like you said, changes the whole chemistry and the synergy that you had. So, I mean, that's a very, very good assessment. And I think that will Tribe continue to struggle? We don't know yet. They have a few weeks to prepare. That's another crazy thing to think, that they're not already qualified for the major, like the big cup. Like, so that's something interesting.
I think they'll qualify though. You know what I'm saying? I still think they'll qualify. Their chances to make it to Worlds though, I think anyone not betting on IMT and Sentinels hasn't been, they
haven't been watching.
Those are the two favorites. And so you asked this earlier of who do I feel like won the offseason? I'm going to say right now, I think it was Sentinels. Mally's cracked. That man in the mid lane is something else, let me tell you. Like, oof.
You said it. You guys went 8th, finished 8th, and one change. This is where the one change is a positive change. And I'm not saying that you left was a negative thing. I'm saying that if you look at what happened, they went from 8th to like top 2. Top 2, which is very, very, very I don't care if you say, oh, it's NA's weak. I don't care if people say that. We are still, as you can see, the competition is getting very, very tight. Very tight. Yeah. Teams are getting a lot better. So to be over Tribe, over C9, over Enemy, that's impressive to me if you go and look at the whole scope of the scene from Season 0 to now. Very, very impressive.
Definitely. Well, and I think that the 8th place in the major was screaming up to that, I don't think we were actually the 8th place team, right? Like, but that's regardless. We placed 8th. That's what it was. But I feel like that really was a wake up call for a lot of the players and for Pierce, the coach. Beg lives in Portland. I moved out to Portland in January. Beg and I got lunch, and something he was talking about was how big of a role Pierce has played as a coach in the last couple of months from that regional loss, right? And taking that as fuel to be a better coach and coming in with like a lot more structure and buying a whiteboard and doing, a lot of things to help the team consistently improve, as well as kind of pointing out the weaknesses that the team had, especially when it came to communication, right? And so Beg in particular has been taking a big role, as well as Sheesh in the jungle, of being more vocal about shot calls. And also Mally, I think is a very vocal player, but I feel like those have been a couple of the really big changes. Like obviously, I think Mally mechanically and the champions that he can pull out. I mean, just you watch him play, it's very impressive. But I also think Pierce coming in and helping provide a lot more of that structure, and really keeping the team disciplined and in line when it comes to consistently improving, I think has also been a big no. And part of why I'm so bullish and optimistic on Sentinels moving forward is just because I think having that added coach structure for the caliber of players that they have just means that the sky is the limit, and I'm excited to see it. But obviously I'm a Sentinels stan. I'm biased. I used to play with them. They're my friends, but I also, off season, another one. Yikes being dropped from Immortals and Lebmont being picked up. Like Lebmont and Gume, they are brothers, right? So some existing synergy there. But also I think Lebmont from a mechanical standpoint is probably the best jungler. Sheesh, I'm sorry. I know you're going to hear this and be mad at me, but Lebmont is a different beast in the jungle, right? That reverse sweep, I especially feel like game 3 and 4, a lot of the early and mid game moments that turned opened the game wide open were coming from Lebmont. So, him paired with Hoon in the mid lane, I feel like is just a beauty to watch. But yeah, those would be the two biggest acquisitions from my perspective.
That's an unfair synergy though. Like they have chemistry for years. Like so, it's true. And you brought up something that, all right, from a non-Sentinel stan, I will say you brought up something that I think is very important that people don't realize, that having any sports game, whatever, a coach is so very, very valuable. And the hardest thing for a coach to do is to get their team to buy into the system, whatever their style is. And it's hard. But as you can see from the results, through that thought process and the change that he made, I'm sure the team also was like, oh yeah, we're winning now. Like, look, this is different. So once you get that snowball effect, it builds and builds and builds. So I'm so glad that both you and Beggs understand and appreciate the role and how important a coach is, and talk about him in such high praise, because it's the behind the scenes people sometimes that are just as important, if not more important, than the people that are on screen. So shout out to you guys for understanding that. Let's see here. The next topic is, what are our top 5 teams in NA right now? And is there quite a big separation from the top 2 to 3, 4, 5? What are your thoughts on that?
So the way I'd order it is Sentinels, Immortals, 1, 2, right? Like I think that's a bit interchangeable, right? I think depending on the tournament, depending on the weekend, you could see either of those flip flop. And then I think 3, 4 is probably NME, C9. And then I kind of want to throw Tribe in there too, though. Like I kind of want to throw Tribe in there too, like 3, 4, 5. Yeah, because I'm not 100% sure where I rank those 3, but I definitely feel like it'd be Enemy, Tribe, and C9 as the next 3 teams. After the last major, did feel like Enemy and C9 looked a bit better than Tribe.
They did level up a little bit.
They did, so like maybe I would slightly put them above Tribe, but looking at the caliber of players, the experience, the history on Tribe of playing in multiple different mobile MOBAs professionally over the years, like I feel like they're a team that we could see bounce back with a fire in Major 3, right, into the regionals. So that's definitely something where I would, after the most recent major, I would put Enemy and C9 as a bracket, and then I put Tribe below them. But I think that can easily shift. I think that Tribe can easily jump in, and those 3 teams can be, pretty comparable, kind of hit or miss. But I still think, Sentinels, Immortals are going to be the 2 top dogs.
That is also where I stand. I have Sentinels and Immortals top 2 dogs, interchangeable as well, just based on performance. The next 3, I do have it as they are tied 3, 4, 5, and in no particular order, the same 3 teams you have, with Tribe, in my opinion, being the weakest. But you don't want to put someone who's been at the top in the corner, because they've been there when the pressure is the biggest and they know how to win. So like you said, don't count them out, because what if they just go on a crazy run and then make us all eat our words, because that could potentially happen. But right now, as we see it, they are not the top dog, and I'm sure that's fueling them. Behind the scenes, their coach is probably back there saying, "What are you guys doing? Like, we're making simple fundamental mistakes and stuff." So we'll have to see. And the cool thing is, the rest of these teams that are now showing up consistently to the majors, we talked about Suzuku and teams like that. I believe in the future, when there is some sort of, I guess, franchise system, these are those teams that are going to get those opportunities. So they're not only building a name from this now, but potentially building a future that could be sustainable. And that's the beautiful thing about being on a team in the early rounds of their esports growth. So with those other teams, do you think there's potential for some of them to sneak into the top 5?
I mean, so that's a good question. Top 5, maybe. I mean, we have to talk about reflection. Them taking game off Tribe is great. Them taking a game off Immortals is very impressive, right? Like, looking at that squad, and I've talked with some of them, right? Their support player, KT, someone that has impressed me when I've watched him in the qualifier, in the major, in houses. Him and I talked a little bit, and he mentioned that he feels like his team doesn't really have very much of a draft identity, right? And so I feel like if they're able to maybe hammer down what they need to do in draft, and able to maybe get a more firm grasp on, how they can set themselves up for success coming out of the draft phase, where, because oftentimes with draft, it feels a little bit like, I view it as this 0 to 100 spectrum, right? So it's like, if the draft is 80% in favor of them, 20% in favor of you, that's a failed draft, right? Something in the 40 to 60 range, I consider to be a fine draft, right?
Like a coin flip.
It's a coin flip, right? And really trying to get yourself into that 40 to 60 range, where even maybe at the start you're 10% disadvantage. You can outplay that as a player, but making sure you don't fall into this 80-20 range where you just basically lose, right? One of your champions is completely useless, or two, right? And so I think if they're able to really hammer and put some work into what they need to have successful drafts, like what are the key components, I think that could maybe be a dark horse we see. I didn't get to see their specific games when they beat Immortal and Tribe because they weren't streamed, but the fact that they were able to consistently do that off two of these top teams makes me feel pretty optimistic about them leading into the future. And then over to Suzaku, they got some good players like Stove. He played in the regional, but someone I've been really impressed with is their mid laner. So Danny, aka his in-game name is Premonition. He is. Well, I was casting him and losing my mind with his hype Yasuo plays. Yeah, I was losing it. And the ability to pull out those kind of champions and have success with them against the likes of a Sentinels or Immortals is way more difficult than a qualifier. But if we're able to see him start being able to replicate some of those high skill cap champions against some of these better teams, I think that could be maybe like a win condition for them moving forward, and something to watch out for.
You're getting that respect per se from the other team when they ban a champion of yours, because they know they don't want it. And that's the thing. There's a lot of memes with the 1 in 15 Yasuo, but then all of a sudden that 1 in 15 Yasuo takes over the game. So it's like, if he pulls that out and just dominates from the start, that's definitely a ban you want to consider. So I definitely think taking the wins off is a huge thing, especially for an up and coming team. It builds that confidence. As a new team, you're going in, you're like, man, you're already nervous, and maybe I'm just speaking from experience, but it's like, you already have a premonition, like, we're the underdogs, we're going up against this team. Some people will look at it like, it's cool that we made it here. Some people will look at it like, it's okay if we lose. And some people are like, I want to win. I want to beat them. And if we lose, I want to figure out why. And I hope they go on if we lose, I want to figure out why. I hope they watch the tape. I hope they look at the drafts. I hope they have some kind of structure that they can put together as a team. I don't know if they have a coach or whatever, but they should be doing those VOD reviews to get better and continually play. Because what I don't want to see is these teams that are making it names for themselves now that, could be a dark horse dissolve. And that's what I've seen in many esports. You've seen it too. Like, they have so much potential. The team breaks up. Whatever. I don't want to see that. I want to see the community stay strong. And I hope that, those bottom teams can start making a push, because then the whole thing is competitive. You don't have just one team taking over, and then it's not fun to watch. I'll be honest. It's not. Like, that's why this season for me has been so exciting to watch. Just so engaged, because you're like, you don't know who's going to win. That's the great part. So I'm very excited to see how this season goes, and that brings me to my hot take here. Do you think the defending champions of North America will qualify for Worlds? I know you talked about it earlier.
No shot.
Right now, you're saying they have no shot.
I mean, no shot might be extreme. It's what, 2 slots?
2 slots, only get 2.
Nah, I would say no. I wouldn't say no shot. I wouldn't put it at a 0% chance, but I would say highly unlikely. I think Sentinels and IMT are just looking way too good, and I don't see their steam or their power creep. Their improvement as a team slowing down. So I would say no. I don't think they're going to go to Worlds again.
Interesting. So the and you kind of touched on this. The ceiling for the other 2 teams is very high because they haven't broken through it yet because they have so much more potential to prove. Whereas Tribe has been to the top. We have seen their ups and their highs. So I mean that is a very, very accurate statement right there. And I don't know if they're falling from this, but once you've been there before, and this goes for a lot of sports and things, is people feel like once they finally reach the top, that they get complacent. And I'll say that I'm assuming Tribe doesn't think that way because they didn't win Worlds. So, but they were the best in North America. So what are they doing differently to now continue that success? So we'll have to see how it goes. Me, on the other hand, I have to stick with what I predicted earlier in the year, that Tribe was going to be one of our representatives. I can't turn back on that because I've already said it previously in things before the downfall of Tribe. And
you can change your mind. You can change your mind. New information, man. That's how it works. It
is true. But I'm very loyal to my picks because it's like, okay, if I flip flop, then I'm a bandwagoner, and I don't want to be a bandwagoner because being in Phoenix, Arizona, there's a lot of bandwagoner fans, and I don't want to be that person. So I'm sticking to.
You and I have been watching since the old days. We've been watching since Steve Nash, Marty Starr. We were talking about this before we went live. We've been Suns fans since before they were good.
So I'm not going to flip flop. I believe that Tribe will still be a representative, and not only that, it would make an epic storyline. The downfall, back to the Kings are back kind of thing. Because right now, Immortals and Sentinels, they are the kings, specifically Immortals, kings of NA right now, which last year, this time, we would never even think about. In fact, I believe at one point it was just Enemy and Tribe were the talk of the town. So it's crazy to think that right now, Tribe is not even considered potentially making it to Worlds. So that's the hot take for the day. We're gonna go into another one, MVP watch and I love that they're doing that on the stream now per game and stuff. I think that's a cool concept. Right now, if I had to pick an MVP based off of impact, based off of a lot of intangibles that I think don't need to matter, like the namesake of literally the name, I'm going with Sheesh right now. I'm going with Sheesh. He's exciting to watch. I think the team revolves around the impact of his play a lot. And we've seen him carry hardcore as well, specifically in this last major. And I think
you saw him get that penta, right?
Yes,
that penta on the Kazakhs.
And I'm like, come on, you can't deny what this dude is doing. And you also can't deny that as he goes, the Sentinels has also been rising as well. So I look at it like he's got to be my front runner pick right now. Who would you pick?
I mean, Sheesh is a great pick, very talented player, but I think you have to go with MTS, at least for me. Like, having played with him, it's maybe a different experience than just watching, right? Like, maybe it's hard for the Baron lane to be super impactful, but I feel like the intangibles he brings, right, of like watching VODs together, like being able to practice together and kind of learn from him, and kind of hear his perspective on the way that you should play the map, and the way that you could kind of improve and get better. I just feel like he makes everyone on the team better. And that's something that I experienced firsthand, and why I would choose him as the MVP. I mean, he never loses lane as well, right? That helps. Like, he never loses lane, right? He has these pop-off games on, Ribbons, his Garen's nasty. But I feel like oftentimes you'll see him in fights use his cooldowns to the perfect extent, right? He'll get out with a sliver of HP. Like that's not a luck. That is a calculation.
Calculated. Very calculated.
That is a calculation. You might see MTS get out with this liver of health. That man did the math on his calculator beforehand. All right. Like he knows his calculations pretty much better than I think anyone in the game right now. And so, I think for that, it'll pull the opposing team into a lot of these fights where they think it's good for them, and then it kind of turns on its head. So, due to that, as well as the fact that I think he does make everyone on the team better, I would probably choose MTS. But if I have to, we both chose Sentinels, people. So
yeah, I was thinking the audience might be like, wait, this is super biased right now. But just so you know, there was no bias. I sent these questions and stuff to him beforehand. He already knew what I was gonna pick. So it's not like we were like, hey man, let's full send Sentinels today. That was not the case at all. All right,
they did look good though, right? Like against IMT, they did lose in the finals, but remember, they're 4-3 as far as games go. Right? They won 2-0 in the upper. They did lose 2-3, but that means 4 wins for Sentinels, 3 wins for Immortals on the full weekend. So it's like you got to keep that in mind. Like these teams, when they play, it's very equal, very even. You play 10 games in a row. It could be 5-5. It could be 6-4 in one of the the other teams. So
they do say numbers never lie. So that is the truth there. So all right. So we're gonna jump to one of my new favorite segments that somehow I got to find some cool way to edit this stuff in here. But it's the Rift market here. So on my last episode, Beginnings and I talked about what stocks and the teams we would buy. So let me give you a little recap right now of what I think is going on. Right now, I believe Sentinel stock is rising, and then Immortal stock is holding because that stock was a high stock last time. Tribe stock continually on a downfall. Maybe this is the time you want to buy, though. You want to buy the Tribe stock, which I bought a lot of on the first episode. I'm holding on to that stock because I think they still have that potential to go to Worlds. And then what stocks are the stocks like for the 5, 6, 7, 8 teams? Do you think would you want to buy? Like, so right now, if you had to, you got 5 stocks to buy, you can choose them and allocate them however you want. What are you doing with your stocks?
I mean, I'm all in on Sentinels, all my stock, you know what I'm saying? Without a doubt.
Right, that's it.
But if that's not the case, right, I would say Sentinel stocks definitely rising. I think Immortal stocks, like obviously holding or rising, right? I do think Tribe stock is decreasing. I think C9 stock is actually going up as well. So I would buy some C9 stock. Maybe not a crazy amount, not to the level I buy Sentinels, but I would buy some C9 stock. I think there's definitely a lot of potential there.
They pointed out in the broadcast something I didn't realize. The C9 has not played in a finals. I believe they said that on broadcast, and I can't believe that. And I have to go back and look. Maybe they have not played, but that's another thing.
All last year it was like Tribe Enemy. I think there was maybe one Tribe versus Immortals. And then this year it's been what? IMT Tribe and like IMT Enemy and IMT Immortals. Or IMT Sentinels. Yeah. So it's like, I don't think C9's ever played in the finals. But this could be the year where we see that change, maybe. Like I do feel like they're improving on it as a team.
That then would be a great stock to buy. You're right.
But I ain't buying them over Sentinels, for the record.
Let's not get it twisted. He's not buying the stock over Sentinel. But right now, Sentinel stock would be expensive though, so maybe you do want to pick up a few more of some of the other ones. One of the stocks that I would buy is going to be who was it? We were just talking about him earlier. Reflection.
Reflection.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would buy like a couple of them because in the stock market game, you want to buy it while it's low because you see that potential to rise, and that's exactly why I would buy stock from them, just based off of them taking wins off of 2 of the best teams. That's now, am I going to buy a lot? I don't know. This is like I'm going to buy them and then just kind of see where they go, and if I need to, then I'll dump some cash into there. Is there any
it's
other
like high risk, high upside type thing, right? Yeah. Where it's like, who knows where they'll go, but potentially could break in top 3, top 4. I don't think they beat an IMT Sentinels, but maybe, C9, Tribe, Enemy. I could see them maybe upset one of them. So definitely could be a good stock to buy for sure.
Right on. Anything else you want to talk about before we depart from the show?
That's a good question. I mean,
you
we
were ready for that one.
Suns. Yeah, I wasn't. I was ready for all the other questions. Nah, dude, this has been so much fun. I mean, thank you so much for having me, Legacy. This is, we met up in person. It was fun. Able to give you a hug. Happy to be on your podcast. Love that you're doing this Wild Rift content for me, for the community. Given these spicy takes, like I liked watching the one with Beg. So everyone, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Watch this podcast, follow it, and yeah, follow me too.
Yes, please follow Michael. He is going to be doing a lot of big things for the community this year, especially in the Wild Rift sector, casting, and probably working with me again on some more stuff that we'll be talking about soon. So you'll see him on hopefully more on the Wild Rift WNS, but also you can catch him on the Cloud9 in-houses, and eventually on some more Team Liquid stuff that we will probably be talking to you guys about soon later in the month. But again, make sure you guys follow and like and all that cool stuff. And thanks for watching. And I hope you guys enjoy our spicy takes. As we continue to do these, though, I would love for you guys to send your own questions and comments and stuff. And then maybe as we continue this, maybe we'll have Michael on every week or every other week or whatever you guys want to do. I think it would be great because then we could throw out some bets. We could throw out legitimate bets, like for when the weekend's up, we'll be like, hey, we got to bet on this, and this is the winner loser kind of thing. So let us know what you guys like. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Legacy, and then this is Michael Udall saying thanks for watching and peace.
Bye.